First of all, thank you once again for joining in. It's a pleasure to have you today with us.
My pleasure.
And we would take it an official welcoming everyone. Warm welcome to another exciting edition of GIBS IRE Talks, powered by the GIBS Business School Bangalore, where innovation meets the inspiration. I'm Professor Sandeep Bansali, your host for today's session. And I'm truly excited to welcome all one of you with a powerful edition of this IRE Talk series. And today's session is more about the entrepreneurship, the journey. This is just not a theme, but a reflection of grit, growth, and as well as the transformation that defines the entrepreneurial success. In the rapidly evolving world, understanding this journey is more crucial than ever. And today we are really honored to have Mr. Varun Chawla, the founder of Build 3 and 91Springboard. Together, we'll dive deep into what it really takes to start, scale, and sustain a venture, navigating uncertainties, embracing the innovation, and staying true to your mission. To brief a bit about GIBS Business School Bangalore is one of the India's premier institutions committed to shaping the future leaders, entrepreneurs, as well as the innovators. Consistently recognized as a top B school by the reputed ranking bodies such as the Week, India Today, the Times B School, and a lot of others. GIBS stands the trusted name for excellence in management education, known for its industry-oriented AICT approved PGDM program as well as BBA program affiliated to Bangalore University. GIBS focuses on the practical learning, innovation, as well as the leadership development. In the right heart of this Bangalore startup capital, that's Bangalore. So promoted by the IM alumni, GIBS has been forefront of providing world-class education and a strong industry interface. What sets GIBS apart is its practical and experiential learning approach through specialized initiatives such as the practice schools of excellence, including the School of AI, Finishing School, the Innovation Research and Entrepreneurship School, the School of Happiness and Mindfulness. To speak a little bit about what this IRE Talk all about is, so IRE Talks stands for Innovation Research and Entrepreneurship, is our way of bringing the industry into the classroom. It's a platform where we get to hear the first-hand experiences from the visionaries, entrepreneurs, business leaders, as well as the change makers who shape the future. Through these conversations, and today we are really privileged to have our distinguished keynote speaker for today, Mr. Varun Chawla, the founder of Build 3 as well as the co-founder of 91Springboard. Mr. Chawla is a visionary entrepreneur who has played a pivotal role in shaping India's startup and co-working ecosystem. Through Build 3, a unique startup studio based in Goa, he partnered with founders to co-build and impact-driven ventures, improve the mind's body and the planet. His work blends creativity as well as purpose and a community in a way that redefines what it means to build sustainable startups. He's also a co-founder of 91Springboard, one of the India's pioneer co-working communities that helped catalyze the growth of countless startups across the countries. I'm sure 91 Springboard was one which gave a lot of entrepreneurs a space to start their offices and to start their journey from. So let's welcome Mr. Varun Chawla to this session. And first of all, once again, Mr. Varun, thank you so much for joining in. And I'm really excited to learn a lot of things from you. So I'm sure all our students and the audience would also love to learn a lot of things. For all the audience, in case if you would love to ask any questions, probably you can just check in the Q&A. So you can just put it across in the Q&A. We'll take up the question answers from there. All right. So to start with, the first question for today is, we would love to know more about you, Mr. Varun, right from what was your education, what is your background from?
Okay. I did my schooling in Birla Vidyaniketan in Delhi. I was a science student. I wasn't a great student. I was a, let's say, average student. I ended up going overseas for college. I went to Cornell University to study electrical engineering. I realized there that I liked working with computers, not necessarily building them. So about 3 semesters in, I was looking to make a change. And luckily in the US system, you can make that change. So I switched to something called applied economics and management, or as I say, fancy for common sense. I received that degree, graduated early, and ended up joining Goldman Sachs in equity research, which is an overpaid journalist that can do maths.
Wow, that's really nice. And to move with this, I would say when you said you have worked for GS, and I'm sure I happened to read one of your article where you mentioned that you had a beautiful, amazing life in Manhattan, but despite that, living that 1 CR paycheck, and you've been back to India to do something new. So, what was that motivation all about?
I think early on in life, at least I grew up as a middle class Punjabi, and I think a lot of what society was telling me was you need to get this branded job, you need to get a good paycheck, and then life is set. And then I did it, right? I got the branded job, I got the nice paycheck, and I still felt empty. Something something else was needed in life to make me feel complete. And it was that search that brought me to India to explore entrepreneurship, actually. And I think I've found progressively more and more satisfaction as I have understood who I am as a person and my activities reflected versus just the pursuit of more and more money. That's been my journey over the last 20 plus years.
Wow, that's nice. So when you say that you've moved your transition from a job, from an employee to become an entrepreneur, so what is that, which the change you have seen in both the segments, if I would love to know.
See, as an employee, you're normally carrying out somebody else's plan and you are a means to execute it, usually, right? The very best of organizations will involve you in the planning part of it also, so it at least somewhat feels like your plan. But in your own organization, you are 100% aligned with what is the activity you're undertaking, why you're undertaking it, and what goal it will achieve. So there's 100% alignment, no confusion, no questions, no clarity missing. So I think that's the biggest difference between a job and entrepreneurship. Financially, of course, it is quite different. The a job is always consistent. It gives you what you're expecting at the end of every month or the beginning of every month. You get that. But in an entrepreneurship endeavor, in the beginning stages, you usually get nothing,
Yeah.
and it takes a few years. And maybe if you are successful, you will get something. So there's a lot of financial risk in the second model, but a lot of freedom around what you can do. In a job, there is less freedom, but there's a lot more consistency with financial compensation.
Okay. And where did this 91 Springboard come from?
You're saying the name, or
The
what's the
thought,
question?
the thought, basically.
Ah, I believe the best ideas always come from personal problem statements. So in my case, in between 2007 and 10, I tried to do multiple startups working out of my father's office. Uh, his CA was my CA. His IT guy was my IT guy. His conference room was my conference room. My father and his friends were my mentors and my investors. So it created this amazing incubator or accelerator, you can say, for me and my various startup experiments. And it
Okay.
allowed me to really try a few things and find something that was successful. And I felt like this could be an amazing accelerator or booster or springboard for many other founders. And I said, hey, if this worked for me, it can help others. So let me build what has worked for me for others. So it came from there, where my setup had been a solution for my startup experimentations. I wanted to create a solution for everybody's startup experimentation. That's when 91 Springboard was born.
Wow, that's really nice. So, have you ever come across a moment of doubt for yourself when you started both of your ventures? So, whether anything like, will I be able to succeed in this, or do you have any doubts in that?
So there is me before the age of 40 and there's me after the age of 40, right? Before the age of 40, I was very intellectual, and after the age of 40, I'm very intuitional. So in my intellectual days, whenever I would have a plan or a formula of I will do A, B, C, and D will be the result, I will do X, Y, Z, and this will be the answer. I always used to be attached to my effort and the outcome. And whenever the
Okay.
outcome would not come, there would be a sense of dissatisfaction, a sadness, a frustration, an inquiry into what went wrong, how can I do things better, and this would lead to unhappiness in general. Um, you know, didn't feel great. But as I moved into my 40s and I became much more intuitional, you know, I believe we are all sent here with a certain journey, a certain path. And when something doesn't work out a certain way, that's not a bad deal. We just don't know the right way. The beautiful new right way is going to open up. Just be patient, just keep persevering, keep being consistent, and something amazing, something awesome will happen. Don't worry. Right. And so that is my way of now dealing with what seems like a failure is just a pivot into another path for success.
Okay, that's really nice. So if I have to speak about something about the startup ecosystem or the co-working revolution, so how has the Indian startup ecosystem has evolved since you started 91 Springboard?
Hmm. So we started in 2012 as a company and 2013 as our first location. Um, Co-working itself was I think there were a handful of singular locations, not institutional organizations that were creating multiple locations and scaling it as a business, but as a one-off location, there were a handful. So we weren't the first, but we were, I think, the first institutional organizational looking at co-working. So we scaled that up, and it was a lot of customer education, right? When you create a new industry, then people don't know who you are, what you are, how you want to help them. So a lot of the work was around education, giving them an experience, helping them understand. So a lot of videos, articles, events to communicate and help understand our product, our service, our offering, and the benefits that a customer could receive. Um, Similarly, in 2015 is where the Startup India effort was launched by the government of India. That's where a lot of different programs, various subsidies, various funding opportunities, just the whole mantra around startups being cool, India becoming a startup nation, the government supporting it in as many ways as we can, our parents allowing us to do startups because they no longer considered it a taboo. You know, Marriages happening to startup founders because it was okay to be a startup founder. You didn't just have to have a fancy job at a big consulting company or a big investment bank or a big FMCG company, etc., etc. So it made it mainstream. It made it okay. That happened in 2015. So it was a bit challenging in the beginning, both in my industry and both being a startup. But I think after the first few years, we were able to handle it by a lot of education, a lot of tailwind from uh, government branding around startups, making it an acceptable thing to do, a good thing to do, a nation building thing to do.
Great, great. So when we speak about the startups which succeeded and those that did not, so have you observed any kind of common patterns among them among the startups?
A common pattern in which way? Sorry, can you repeat?
Those startups which succeeded and which did not succeeded.
Uh, so there's a really nice um, report I read once around startups and their causes of success. Um, I'd like to share that with you. This was by Bill Gross. He created the very first incubator in the world in the 80s and 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And uh, his organization is called Idea Lab.
Idea Lab.
And
Okay.
I think, yeah, and the way he explains it is my favorite way to think about this. He says there are five causes that determine startup success. First one is basically timing or luck. And that's the biggest reason. He says 42% success comes from timing or luck.
True.
The next biggest one, he says, is team and execution. He says 32% comes from there. The idea, which is the new truth, the new outlier, the difference you want to bring in the world, the idea is 28% of the reason you will be successful. The business model you connect to your idea is 24% responsible for your success. And funding is 14% responsible for your success. Now, this surprises a lot of people. And the timing part is really powerful in that, you know, uh, Airbnb, right? A business that's now a household name known to all of us, is doing well in a time when started to take off in a time where there was um, we can call it a downturn in the US economy. People were uh, looking for money, and if they had extra space in their room, in their apartment, or in their house, they were willing to give it. Otherwise, Americans would be very safety first and privacy first and would not do it. But because it happened to be a time when there was a paucity of money, there was an economic downturn, people were open to the idea. And so the right timing happened to facilitate the birth of a business like Airbnb. And stories like this are rampant everywhere. Timing or luck, the ecosystem has also come together along with great team, great idea, great business model, right funding, all of that.
That's really good to know because they say, as we if we think about it, the universe conspires to give you that. So the timing needs to be very, very perfect for that on the first note. So moving
100%.
ahead, just would love to understand more about the other venture. That's the Build Tree, and what makes it a startup studio, and how is it different from the incubators as well as the accelerators?
Right. So a startup studio, like all of these words I've realized are a little bit overlapping, right? Incubators in India are primarily sitting within college campuses. They provide a lot of space. They provide sometimes a little bit of money, and they provide support from um, academic professors typically. So that tends to be the model for incubators. For accelerators, it tends not to be space. It tends to be small, short programs, 1, 2, 3 months. They provide a little bit of money. They provide a lot of advice. A venture builder, a startup studio, venture studio, these are all similar words, is continuing with the accelerator theme, working very deeply with founders, creating one-on-one basis, providing knowledge, creating a community where they can share knowledge, and providing capital, usually for an extended period of time. Think like a year or sometimes 2 years, really helping the startup from the journey of idea all the way till a point where the next round of funding typically happens. That's basically, I don't like to use the word hand holding, but a lot of support right from the early stages up till the stage they get funded.
Okay, okay, that's really nice. And why is this the focus, as you earlier mentioned, that the focus on mind, body, and planet are so
Mm.
integral part of your ventures?
Yeah. So in 2020, when I was still running 91 Springboard, we of course had COVID, and for many people that was a time to introspect and think about the choices we were making. And for me, it was a chance to do the same. And in the summer, I was found myself playing with this framework called Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Ikigai is a framework that asks you 4 questions: what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And how can you make money doing it? And the intersection of these 4 things is your Ikigai, which is your reason for being, which they say is basically if you do this, you'll be happy, you'll be satisfied, you'll be appreciated by society, you'll be energized, you will achieve things, you'll jump out of bed feeling excited, all of those things, right? If you find the overlap of these. So I went down a journey trying to find my Ikigai. And I realized, what do I love? I love working with early stage startups because that's the most creative part of the startup journey. The team, the product, the idea, the distribution, the brand, the business model, all of those get figured out in the early days. I was excited about that. I'm a creative person, just my canvas is entrepreneurship. Second question was around, what are you good at? Well, by this time, I had done 7 of my own startups. I had invested in a couple of dozen startups and I had mentored a few dozen startups. So if you just look at my experience, you can say I have above average experience, which could mean maybe I'm above average good at it. So that was, what are you good at? Then it said, what does the world need? And we're now in 2020, Startup India has been around a while. Lots of work is going on in the startup ecosystem, even at the early stages. So I said, what does the world need, right? Like, We still have tons of air pollution in our big cities. We still have polluted oceans. We still have healthcare problems. We have people falling sick. We have mental wellness issues. Like, the world is not necessarily in a great place. We need to do something to improve this. So we need to use entrepreneurship as a force for good. Just like nuclear power, you can build bombs out of it, or you can build energy out of it. And with entrepreneurship also, you can build something that makes the world better or makes the world worse. And I'd like to use entrepreneurship as a force for good. So, as I say, for profit and for purpose startups became my jam, and Build 3 became an organization that supports using entrepreneurship to build startups that make for a better mind, better body, and better earth. Basically, using entrepreneurship as a force for good. So that became my what does the world need? And then how can you make money doing it? You try to give an invoice to a startup for consulting, that is never getting cleared. But if you invest in them and you work with them for the next few years, then what can be exciting is that when they become more valuable, you can share in the value that has been co created. So that can be quite exciting. So that is basically the model I came up with in 2020, and we've been building for the last 4.5 years.
That's amazing, I would say. And as you mentioned, for all the audience, I would love to say that more than about 8 to 10 startups you have already started. A lot of them you have mentored. Even now, on a continuous basis, you do a lot of mentorings for all those incubators, the startup founders who seek for the startup mentoring. I'm sure probably they can reach you over LinkedIn to understand more about you. And just one thing which I would love to, I'm little, I would say curious to know about that. How do you define this leading with intention? And specifically when you mentioned about the COVID time or probably the crisis or any kind of disruptions.
Leading with intention, you're saying, huh?
Yes, intention.
Hmm. I haven't used that word often, but let me try to. Um, I think, let me change the word to purpose.
Okay.
And I think if we have positive purpose on what we want to do to make the world better, and then we build our startup around that, I think we will manifest something beautiful.
Great.
Um, so I think having a positive direction that we want to focus our energies and our time in is immensely important to building something useful. And then there is also the how we build, right? And there is some language around ESG, which some of us might have heard, environmental, social, and governance, quite big in Europe. And now, over the next few years, will become quite meaningful even in India as we're all trying to hit our climate goals. So it's around how can we be kind to the environment, how can we be kind to the society we live in, how can we be fair to our team members and employees. It is all of these things. So are we carbon neutral? Are we using solar or wind energy? How are we handling our water resources? um, are we recycling our paper? Are we using paper, or are we more digital? All of these are ways to be environmentally conscious in how we operate. Socially conscious. Do we source from nearby? Do we source from very far? Do we leverage nearby organizations and people and collaborate and do things together? That's on the social side of things. And then on the governance side of things, how do we compensate? What are our policies like? What are our benefits like? How transparent are we? How much ownership and accountability do we give? How much involvement in leadership do we have across levels? What is the difference in pay scale from the junior people to the senior people? All of this is around governance. So how you make these decisions is how you run your company. Any company can be run with, you know, I think in a more humane way if you take ESG into account, and your purpose, which can be aligned with, say, the SDGs, the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, can take you in a very positive direction, and ESG can give you a methodology to achieve that in a very harmonious and humane way. So that would be my way of building an intentional company.
Great. All right, sir. So now we would love to know the advice from your end for all the students who have joined in today. So, what advice would you like to give to the students who want to build their own startup?
Mm. I think as a budding entrepreneur, sometimes we get caught up in fads and trends. These days it's AI. A few years ago it was ed tech. Before that it was Web3. And before that it was fintech. These things come in 2, 3, 4 year cycles and go. I'm old enough to have seen enough of them. And startups are really built in 10 years or more, right? Not in 2, 3 year cycles. And the energy to build it has to be passion to solve this problem and delight customers. So since the energy source has passion, it can't be a trend that you're going after. You have to pick something that you really know a lot about, you care a lot about, bothers you or bothers people around you, and you're really excited and motivated to solve that problem. So pick something of that nature to solve. Also pick something where you have skill, not just passion, but you have skill. A lot of people start building technology businesses, and then the first thing they say, I need a tech co-founder. Why? Because I have to build this technology product and I don't know how to build for technology. I'm like, then you found the wrong startup. Build a
Wrong
services
start.
startup, right? Build in a different area with the skills you have. So build in areas you have passion and build in areas you have skill. Those two things will help you get a lot further in your business. Even through the tough times, you will be able to carry on, and you will be less reliant on other people to build the prototype, get it to customers, make sure there's product market fit. So that would be my thought to first time and early stage founders.
Okay. With the same question to continue with, I would ask like, should the students work in startups before starting their own, or probably just jump in it?
There's no right way, right? There's both ways. I worked at Goldman Sachs, and then I did my own startups after that. And then it also took me a few before I got good at it. Um, we all know the famous stories of your Bill Gates and your Mark Zuckerbergs, etc., who started this college right out of college. They started their own startups. I believe both are possible. I've seen them both happen. I don't think there is a right answer. If you have the passion and fire in your belly, you can start early. Of course, you'll make mistakes. You'll make mistakes even as an older founder.
Okay,
Both
okay.
are fine. Different ways to do the same thing.
That's very true. So how can the those founders probably, in case if they start as a team, probably when they start as a founders, so how do they balance innovation and sustainability in the current business landscape?
Innovation and sustainability. This sounds like it is at odds, but it really isn't. I can give you an example is the best way to explain it.
Okay,
There's one of the world's leading outdoor clothing companies called Patagonia. The
Patagonia.
founder is this gentleman, Yvon Chouinard. And he's written this beautiful book, which I read, I want to say 1 or 2 years ago, called Let My People Go Surfing. And it's the best example of how you can actually combine profit and purpose, and it doesn't feel like a compromise. Incidentally, he runs a $3 billion company at this point. Um, and so what he does is things like, look, he says, finally, I'm making clothes, right? Which means I have to use resources to build something and I'm selling you an item, right? So it's not like I'm reducing anything. I am selling you something. I'm creating something more in this world. Now, how can I do that most conscientiously? So the people that work are all paid fairly. All the water used is recycled, filtered, and put back in nature as good as new. All the carbon emissions are neutralized. Um, Clothing is made in a way that it lasts a few years when it has to be replaced. And when it does go bad, it is repaired rather than built again. So it's all of these sorts of thoughts that is making it, the most conscious way of building even clothing, which is one of the most, um, I would say, energy intensive industries in the world. How can you even do that with good amount of thought and honesty and conscientiousness? This book documents that. And so this is just one such example. Um, Another one of my favorites is Arvind Eye Care. It's one of our own Indian stories where the gentleman who's an expert doctor with related to cataract surgeries decided, look, I want to start to offer this to everybody, should have access to it. Nobody where blindness can be solved should have to live blind. And so he said simply, the people that can pay will pay my full price, and the people that can't pay, I will give it to them free. And with the people that pay full price, I will use that as a way to subsidize the ones that cannot pay. And he would write this openly. Every customer would know that, hey, I'm capable of paying full price, I'm paying full price, and it is a premium price, and it is going towards subsidizing somebody who can't afford, and that's okay. And people came in droves. To this day, it's like a study by Harvard Business where it has the most number of surgeries conducted in any given day and any given month in the world. So the maximum expertise exists here. So new doctors who want to train on eyes, even from the best US universities, they come to Arvind Eye Care to learn because the best equipment, the best doctors, the most data points exist here. So it's very possible to pair business models, business ideas. Um, as I say, it's product distribution and business model. This combination creates a business. So, innovation in one or two of these areas can enable something quite unique, and it's very possible to balance purpose and profit today. It's not even a question in my mind. It's 100% fact.
Super, super awesome. That's amazing. So before I take up the questions from the audience, so we'll have a quick rapid fire, and it's more or like fun kind of questions I would ask you.
Yeah, let's do it.
So one book every entrepreneur must read.
Uh, I already recommended one, but okay, I'll do another one. Uh, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. This is by Ben Horowitz, who's a founder of Andreessen Horowitz, which is one of the largest venture capital funds in the US.
Okay.
But he talks about how hard it is to run a startup and all the aspects from hiring to compensation to pitching to VCs to building your team, to finding a product that actually works, figuring out sales. He talks about all of it in very real, hard, honest ways. So you should force me to do one, but I could literally tell you 100. I read 2 books a month, so I could give
Okay.
you a lot.
That's great. So a founder or a leader who inspires you?
Sorry, a founder or a leader?
Yeah, who inspires you?
They're the same, no? Every founder has to be a leader.
It has to be. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you have to name one, who can that be?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood the question. So you want me to state a founder or a
Yes.
leader who inspires me? Well, I just talked about him. I will talk about him again. Yuval Schweinard. Actually, since I don't, okay, I'll give you a new one. Sir Richard Branson. He's the
Richard Branson.
founder of the Virgin Group,
Virgin Group. Yes.
uh, and he's done an absolutely phenomenal job of building purpose and profit together. He's built many businesses across Europe. He's fabulous.
Great, great. And a mantra you live by.
Um, Understand your North Star and then put one foot in front of the previous one every day. Don't expect too much. Just one step in front of the other every day. That's it.
Super, super awesome that was. And if not start founder, what would you be doing today?
Aha. I would be doing seva in an ashram.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, so thank you. But one last question for this from my side. I think this I have asked you earlier, but again, let me repeat once again. Goa or Gurgaon? Where do you think you get better ideas upon?
Ah, I think you get different ideas. And one of the things we had discussed, one, I think being in nature, being in a slower place where the air is good, the water is good, everything is not hustle bustle, and you're surrounded by trees, plants, water, ocean, your body goes into a state where it is relaxed, it is creative, it is
Great.
not stressed, it's not frustrated. So I think some really good ideas come out in that environment. For that reason, I would say Goa. That said, of course, enough entrepreneurship is happening in Gurgaon. Um, and I think based on the environment people see around themselves, that's the type of entrepreneurship that happens. So in these big cities, you're seeing stuff around where time is important, where there's a lot of traffic on the roads. So you're seeing innovation in, say, 10-minute delivery or household food deliveries. Because this conveniences people's lives in those environments. In a place like Goa, we didn't have Swiggy or Zomato until 2 or 3 years ago, right? So it was a very recent phenomena because people enjoyed the slow life. They would walk where they wanted. They would go to the market. They would buy their vegetables and make their own food, etc., etc. Right? So it's just a different environment, and different types of innovation happens here vis-a-vis in a hustle bustle city. It's conducive to the problems you see around you. So, as an example, I think of a place like Auroville, if you know it. It's a place close to Chennai, and over there they've done a lot of innovation in architecture. They're building
Architecture.
natural homes with natural materials, with natural drainage systems, which seem to last for hundreds of years, don't need maintenance, and just are incredibly resilient because they're built with natural systems. So that's their way of innovation. They've done a lot of innovation on how communities and people come together, and how there's very low to no challenges of mental wellness. So they've done innovation in different ways because it's a different environment. So every place has its own magic.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was from my end, but I'm sure there are a lot of questions in the Q&A section. So we'll just take
Yeah,
up right from there. So one of the participants is
I
asking
can see.
how.
I can see some of them. Is it okay if I just pick up and
Yeah,
speak? Is it
yeah,
all right?
absolutely. Any of this.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just keep going one by one because I hate to leave anybody waiting. So Akanksha was the first person to ask, how long did it take for your venture to become profitable? Uh, 91 Springboard became profitable, I think, by its 10th month, 10th or 11th month of operations. Sorry, of operations. We did 5 or 6 months of planning before, and construction of our first location. And then within 10 months of that, we were profitable, which is very fast, by the way. Um, Build 3, which is now 4.5 years, is still not profitable because it relies a lot
Okay.
on investments into startups, and the return of investments takes 5 to 7 years when you're investing as early as we do. So it can vary depending on business, right? Like if you build a Elon Musk style SpaceX type of business which has a massive investment, it takes a long time. So
Yeah.
just some thoughts for you. Different businesses are different. How do you balance personal life and work as an entrepreneur? I think I believe the two are not different. Being an entrepreneur is a personal choice. It is how you want to live your life. You want to problem solve, you want to lead people, you want to create solutions that makes people's lives better. It's a choice. If you don't want to do that, then you can join an organization and spend your time, get paid for it, and then do things you enjoy with your time. But if you enjoy problem solving, working with other people, collaborating, doing marketing, doing sales, fundraising, all of that, then that is your life. They're not separate. Um, how important is corporate governance in a startup? I would say it's one of the most important things. If it needs to be a cultural thing right from the beginning, otherwise you end up with challenges later. If there's no culture of transparency, or there's no culture of fair compensation, or there's no culture of feedback. I call all of these corporate governance. You end up with organizations with silos, people who don't trust each other, people who feel they're unfairly compensated. So thinking about this and incorporating it in your business right from the early days is fundamental to any strong business. There are many books on culture. There was a famous poster at Google where they would say, "Culture eats strategy for lunch." Right. So I think corporate governance is a part of culture and should be considered right from the early days. Yeah.
Great.
Next one. How do you evaluate market risk before launching a new product or service? This is a good one, right? And so I've always worked in areas where I already know the landscape, the sector, the problem statement, the customers, the other stakeholders. It feels I already know it. That gives me the comfort or the confidence to have the audacity to launch a product or a solution for that market. I would be rather arrogant if I try to launch something for a market or a customer whom I don't know very much about. So typically, I've spent several years understanding In this case, I've known entrepreneurs for about 15 years being an entrepreneur myself. And then when I said, what is entrepreneur's biggest challenge? It seems to be knowledge, community, and capital. So let me solve for these three problems. And then when I built the first version, it was pretty clear that I was 80% close. I had to do more of the community part, and the knowledge and capital part I had right from the beginning. So I knew the market, and that's why I launched. So I strongly suggest knowing the problem, being familiar with it, being passionate about it, being plagued by the problem yourself before you start a solution, and then you'll find market risk is automatically solved because you already know the problem well. Who has it? How many people have it? How much will they pay for it? What type of solution they need? You will have the intellectual understanding of uh, these questions.
Great.
What skills should a management student develop? This is Priya. What skills should a management student develop to become a successful entrepreneur? Um so first I'll say attitude, then I'll say skills. Attitude is a never say die attitude. There was a professor at IIM Ahmedabad who lectured us once when we just started 91 Springboard. He said the people who are going to be successful in entrepreneurship are people who treat their startup like a child treats a dying grandparent. If they are sick, you don't just call one doctor and say, oh, sorry, it was too late, doctor was busy, and you stop, right? You call five other doctors, you call an ambulance, you put your grandmother in the back of your car, you take them to a hospital, your car is broken, you will find a friend's car, you will do whatever it takes.
Yes.
You will not stop. So you need to have this never say die attitude about your startup, and then there is a chance you might succeed. So this never say die attitude, problem solving, a lot of open and honest, transparent communication with all stakeholders to try to get as many collaborators as possible. Uh, that's partly what I'd say is the attitude. And always be learning, right? Be humble, always be learning. You don't know everything, you can always learn. Stick to your ideas, but always be open to being proven wrong and improve your ideas also, right? In terms of skills, um, communication, written and oral, both are some of the most important skills because that's how you communicate with people and now with AI, and you need to command both to build your business. So you need to have very strong understanding of language. Um, I believe another skill is, and sorry, with language, I'll go back to storytelling also, right? If any of you have read Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari, he talks about storytelling as one of the most important creations by man, and that's one of the differences between man and say chimps. Chimps have 99% of the same DNA, but why can't they do what we do? Because we can tell stories.
Stories.
Stories lead to beliefs, myths, superstitions, political ideologies, science. Everything starts with stories, right? So a hypothesis is a story at first, right? So everything starts with stories, and we have the unique ability to do it. So this ability to tell a story and a narrative is incredibly powerful as a founder. Yeah, I can go on forever, but I'll stop here.
All right. So the next
Anonymous
question.
attendees. What are the pros and cons of venture capital? They come in once you've already proven your business model and want to scale. They will take a nice chunk of your business. While they can provide a good amount of capital, they will also give you a lot of advice. And sometimes it is not a suggestion, it is an expectation for you to follow. Not necessarily bad. You've taken a good chunk of money, so you owe them that. But just know that you are not the sole person in the driver's seat. You have somebody in the passenger seat that is frequently telling you what to do, and they expect you to do it, or at least give them a damn good reason why you're not doing it.
Not doing it.
So
Okay.
that's venture capital. What habits contribute to your success as an entrepreneur? Um, Keeping yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally fit. This means doing yoga every day. This means walking barefoot on grass. This means eating clean food. This means sleeping on time. This means practicing pranayam and meditation. Um, it means finding a spiritual reason for why you're doing things and justifying to yourself why it's important to do this, and surrounding yourself with positive, constructive, happy people. This is one of my methodologies, or this is my kit of being happy and healthy in this challenging environment. What are your views on social entrepreneurship? I believe it's the only entrepreneurship that should exist. Every other entrepreneurship is either very selfish because it's just for the founder, or it is destroying nature in some way, which is already at a point where it feels like we might not be leaving anything for 2 or 3 generations down the line, and that would be incredibly arrogant and selfish of us. So I'd really suggest everybody only think of social entrepreneurship as a way to build. It is possible to balance purpose and profit. If you don't know how to do it, we've got a very affordable 1790 rupee course called Impact Startup Academy on build3.org. Sorry for the plug, but it seemed very relevant here. If it's relevant to you, visit us at build3.org, look up the Impact Startup Academy. How do you stay motivated when things don't go as planned? Reminding yourself what I said when you start the journey, have a North Star, which is very personal, very inspirational, and quite ambitious. In my case, it is enabling 100,000 entrepreneurs to build startups that make the world a better place.
That's
This
amazing.
is so exciting, so inspiring to me that every day, if I don't do well about this, if I'm having a down day or I give up, I know I'll be letting 100,000 people down. That is not okay with me. So I push myself through whatever challenges I have by reminding myself of this is my goal. Uh, what Nandini says, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone starting their journey today? I feel I've covered them in the last few answers, so I won't repeat.
Yes.
Hopefully you got it there, Nandini. Otherwise, find me on LinkedIn. Disha, what's the one thing that you will suggest college students to be successful in business field, and also about networking, startup, and leadership? Okay, I think I've talked about the first half, but the second half, I'll say um, something about being an entrepreneur needs you to be shameless. If you are overly shy or conscious, scared, introverted, you have to overcome all of this if you are to be successful. You have to be quite shameless. You have to talk about who you are and what you do to inspire employees, to inspire investors, to gain the confidence of clients. You really have to put yourself out there. So just drop all of these apprehensions and don't be conservative. If you can't put yourself 100% out there, maybe entrepreneurship is not for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Varma. I'm sure we had an amazing session and a lot of deep insights and entrepreneurial wisdom which you have given to us. I'm sure a lot of our students would be inspired to learn more from you. Probably they would
My pleasure.
certainly connect you on LinkedIn or would love to get associate whatever way possible to learn a lot of things. And your vision of helping those 100,000 entrepreneurs would be very, very soon. We just pray that it happens very, very soon. So all of us gets benefited out of it. Right? Yeah, fingers crossed. Absolutely. So thank you so much once again for joining us and
Thank you.
heartfelt
Thank you.
gratitude for being a part of the SIRE
Likewise.
Talks. And
Thank
before
you so
we
much.
close this,
Pleasure.
I would also love to thank all our students, faculties, and the attendees who made this session meaningful and interactive. So before we close this session, so we would love, in case if you would love to learn a lot of new things about entrepreneurship, or you would love to get in touch with Mr. Varun, probably I'm sure he's very, very active on Insta. He's very active on LinkedIn. So you can reach him. Probably, I'm sure Mr. Varun would help all of us to understand much better things about the startups. So looking forward to get associated. And whenever you're in Bangalore, Mr. Varun, we would love to host you at the campus. So please, please do let us know whenever next time you're there in Bangalore.
Thank you. And vice versa. If any of you is in Goa, come visit us in Kanduli. We've got a beautiful villa close to the beach. Come and visit.
Wow, that's probably I'll be the first person to be there.
Most
Thank
welcome.
you.
Most
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you so much. Have a great
See
time
you
ahead.
all.
Thank you
Bye
so much.
bye. You
Have a good
too.
evening.
Bye bye.